Welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
Dude, I really like that intro, man. Anyway, we had a ton of fun over at the LA rally. As you guys saw in our video, it was lit. And we got a bunch of interviews in. We met all kinds of really cool Yang gangers and got some very interesting responses from them that I had not anticipated, that I'm kind of hoping are demonstrative of what the national appeal to Andrew Yang is. So without any further ado, let's just jump right in. Cody, what do we got?
Yes, so on Monday of this week, it's currently Thursday as of recording, we went to a rally. It was at MacArthur Park in Los Angeles for Andrew Yang. If you guys watched a video on it, it was a very impressive rally for Andrew Yang, and it was a whole lot of fun. So one of the cool things Cardin pointed out we did interview people, and we asked them multiple questions. Now, one particular question we asked almost everyone, I apologize, we didn't quite get to ask everyone this, is Andrew Yang. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to just really quickly flash it on screen, the amount of policies Andrew Yang actually does have on his website, and it's a little bit different than, for example, I remember famously when Beto O'Rourke announced his candidacy, he actually didn't have any policies on his website. They actually have tightened up Andrew Yang's policy page in recent days, so this is new for his policy. However, he has all kinds of different stuff you could see all along the board. I think total, if you want to go piece by piece, it ends up to being, when I expand all of these things, into the hundreds. Anyway, long intro for one.
I mean, look at that.
No, yeah. It ends up being a lot of policies. So, though, that led to a question we had for everyone there, so obviously UBI is the big one, but outside of UBI, what is your favorite Andrew Yang policy? I always say I love his policy about making it so airlines can't kick people off planes. I'm all for the people against people kicking me off airplanes. I'm not a fan of it. So we asked a bunch of you guys these questions, and we're going to highlight, I believe, about 5 or 6 answers right here really quick. So here we go.
All right, awesome. So what, besides the UBI, what is your favorite policy proposal of Andrew Yang's? Got anything in particular?
Yeah, hiding porn on the internet. I think that's, I like that he was willing to come out and say that, because I think he knows that his young fan base would think that that was kind of like a weird position to take, but I think it is the right position morally.
Okay.
I like that he came out and said it, because it just, that to me right there just sort of like reinforced to me, like, this is a guy who's really saying what he thinks and what he thinks is best for the country. Even if it makes him look like kind of a goofy, like, anti-porn old man, but I don't know. I like that he said that, even though it doesn't really benefit me in any way.
Okay. Is there any specific porn you'll miss? No, I'm just kidding. Of all of his now, I don't even know how many, over 150 policy proposals, which one's your favorite besides UBI?
Oh man, besides UBI, I really like the Medicare for All. It's probably one of my favorites.
Okay.
Mine's at democracy dollars, 100%. Yeah, just cleaning out the dirty money and our government is just, I think, a fresh new way of just fixing a lot of problems.
Okay, so besides the UBI, what's your favorite policy proposal of Andrew Yang?
Democracy dollars, 100%. I think democracy dollars would revolutionize politics, and especially lower income households. I think it would revolutionize them and allow them to be more engaged in politics.
Interesting. What about you?
I agree with him.
You agree with him. All right, awesome. That was a very non-committal answer. Good job. Good job. Besides the UBI, what's your favorite policy proposal of Andrew Yang?
Democracy dollars.
Dude, wow, you're 3 for 3. Everybody says democracy dollars. Why?
It's a fantastic idea. You know, get the money big money out of politics. Actually, it's big money added to it. That just outpaces corporate dollars, and it's humanity bucks. You know, it's may the best man win.
All right, so I mean that was really cool, and I was actually pleasantly surprised about 2 things. Can I just spit what my pleasant surprises were before you jump in? Is
Please,
that cool?
brother,
Okay.
please, by all means.
I was very pleasantly surprised that everybody we interviewed had substantive answers of things they like that they could say like that. That this is not some cult of personality. This is not some celebrity candidate who everybody likes just because they know his name. That like that. I mean, sometimes I could see them going, oh, do I choose democracy dollars? Do I choose this? Do I choose that? But everybody within like 1,000 was like, you know what, boom, this is my favorite. And that gave me hope This campaign is a substantive campaign. All right. So that was the first thing I liked, right? And also, I was pleasantly surprised that these things weren't just giveaways. And a lot of people would say democracy dollars are is a giveaway. You know what I'm saying? But those are the same people that say that the UBI is a giveaway, and it's a misclassification. Okay. But anyway, I was pleasantly surprised that some things that are usual kind of talking points on the left, and Andrew Yang is a Democrat, and the things that I view as potentially very destructive weren't the most. Everybody on this channel knows I'm not a fan of Medicare for all. I believe good, solid medical care is a human right, but free market capitalism will take us there, not nationalizing healthcare. I'm with Bill Maher on that regard. So only one person said that. The rest of them they weren't interested in those arguments. They were interested in giving people more access to something. And just like UBI gives people more access to capital and the chance to participate in the American experience and the American dream, democracy dollars empower more people to participate in the political process and dilute the corrupt dark money that you get out of 501c4s that are funded by large corporations or just dirty money in politics. So those two things were very heartening for me, that they really knew what they were talking about, had a definition for it, and that the answers skewed in a direction that didn't make me think, oh, great, we got some cult of personality candidate going on here. Well, what did you think?
One thing, because I do appreciate the level of confidence you put into our viewership, I just want to make sure everyone knows what democracy dollars actually are.
Oh.
So democracy dollars are being proposed by
Cody,
Andrew Yang as one of his flagship policies. And essentially the easiest way to sum it up is he actually does it better than I could. So here we go. Provide every eligible American voter with 100 democracy dollars for each federal election cycle, a voucher they can use to support candidates of their choosing. This amounts to $23 billion nationwide per election, allowing for more than 4 times the spending fueled by mega donor contributions and dark money. Goals are to limit the influence of mega donors in our election and allow the will of the people to show through. All about will of the people. One thing I think is very cool about democracy dollars, and I do like the way that it speaks a lot to a campaign when a majority of the people that support the campaign say, one of my favorite policies is the one that reduces what is perceived as corruption in government through, dark money, big donations, things like that. So it just kind of tells you what the Yang Gang is all about. They're not only, I think that allow the will of the people to show through could be like the subset of humanity first for the Andrew Yang campaign. So I think that was cool. That did stand out how a lot of people you could definitely see were very much in they were interested in cleaning up our election process, the same way they're interested in cleaning up a lot of other things that Andrew Yang has mentioned. So that was very cool. Like I said, the answers we didn't get, there was, of course, the one answer. My favorite answer was the idea that I do love, and I don't know if it's on his website as a policy, but I do love the idea of restricting, adult materials on the internet more strictly. I'm not a big legislation guy, but I do agree morally it'd be the right thing to do. I know that's not the most popular thing, but I do agree. That is one of my favorite Yang policies. I don't know if it's a policy yet, but it's one of my favorite things Yang just said outside of that. I'll see if I can pull the actual tweet up. But I thought
you do mention that there was a really interesting push by there's actually Republican legislation introduced. I don't think it ever hit the floor back in the day to actually make anything that had pornography or nudity on it just to be xxx.whatever.com instead of www, to make it easier for the filters to do, because anybody that's been on a college campus that has filters and has tried to do a research project, it is like the most frustrating experience.
Here's what Yank said.
You can't look up Shakespeare without having it block you from accessing JSTOR or something. Anyway, keep going.
It just says, as a parent of young kids, I believe rampant access to pornography is a real problem.
Yes.
We need to empower families to be able to moderate what our kids see and when. 1,000% on board with that, Mr. Yang. I 100% agree. So I thought it was cool someone mentioned that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Trying to protect minors from the worst aspects of drug abuse, the internet, predatory behavior by adults. Absolutely, all of us.
That's
can
our
agree
super
on.
Boomer take of the super boomer take. No disrespect to people working in the industry. I'm just saying I don't think morally it's great to be as easily
look, that's
accessed.
how I paid my bills in college. So yeah, obviously no disrespect.
Whatever. Anyway.
So
like I said, democracy dollars that. Medicare for all. I don't want to get into the whole Medicare for all thing. I always think it's like many things in Medicare for all. It's like you say, well, I think the free market could do it better. It's like, yeah, we could argue the minutia of how we'd like to make the thing happen, but that's one of the ways he's proposing it. So that's also
well,
out
and
there,
the
right?
other thing that I really like that I think obviously is a little bit demonstrative of the Yang Gang here is there were answers of things they liked about the candidate. The thing that really made me, okay, as a person with many conservative values, I have many extremely liberal values in the colloquial tongue, okay, but also have many conservative values. But the thing that made me attracted initially to the Yang Gang and agreeing to follow the Yang campaign as a predominant aspect of this channel was the fact that Andrew Yang's campaign is about something. It's not against something, okay, because anti-candidates never win, okay? Look at the success of the anti-Reagan candidate. He tanked, okay? Look at the success of all the anti-movements out there, and they tank. There's a reason why Richard Nixon, the first guy to pass UBI, okay? Well, not to pass it, but, basically to have success getting it one step closer to passing completely through the Senate, House, and the executive branch. Anyway, Richard Nixon said, whenever there's a movement against X, bet on X. And I really hate movements. This is why Antifa bothers me so much. If you're anti-fascism, you're not a movement that's pro anything. You're a movement against something, which means you really have no purpose if that something doesn't exist. And I like the Andrew Yang candidacy because he's not a Democrat that is just claiming to be the best thing against Donald Trump. He doesn't spend 99% of his time talking about how bad Donald Trump is or how racist America is or how they're all deplorables. He spends his time talking about, hey, like there's this thing we tried in the 60s called UBI and it came this close to passing. Had it, our lives would be totally different. Let's do it now. By the way, there's another idea similar I think we should do. Democracy dollars. Oh, P.S. Also, nuclearenergiesthebomb.com. You know what I'm saying? He's a candidacy, not an anti-candidacy, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, like I said, I believe the gentleman who mentioned the adult video thing said the same thing, where he said, I like how he knew some of his younger fan base was going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, you're weird old man, but he stood by because that's what he believes in. Yeah, I think it's refreshing to see candidates. Again, I want to give a shout out to his web design department for making this an easier thing to scroll through. Yeah. Very much. Honestly, shout outs. Dude, I remember this thing because he kept adding, and I did get to it.
When it was just an HTML feed of links?
He kept adding, and then at a certain point after they kept adding, they also got to a point where they started breaking them into subheadings like this, but they'd have duplicates. So at a certain point, there was like 300 links. A lot of them were duplicates. So shout outs for repairing that. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool. And keep your eyes out over the next few days, especially on Twitter, but also on the channel. We're going to be uploading more of the interviews, more of the stuff we talked about with people at the rally about Andrew Yang and kind of outside of UBI, some other policies they liked. We also asked some questions. One I really liked. We asked them, who does the Yang Gang think that Andrew Yang's biggest competition is? I think we're going to unroll all the other rest of the interviews in a longer video of just all the interviews so you guys can see them. But that was it. I was really happy with the answer to that question as well. Because I think Democracy Dollar, it says a lot that a big part of people who like Andrew Yang are the same crowd of people that don't like seeing perceived big money influence in elections. Because that is increasingly becoming more and more and more people in general when you speak to them, like across party lines. Like, what's the one thing you would like to do away with? And people will say, I kind of don't like how lobbyists and, big donors have.
And it speaks to the definition of the term equality. Like, equality is the most abused term in American politics. And all Americans are for equality, ... of opportunity. All of us believe there should be a level playing field and that the hardworking guy, if he wants to put in 50 hours that week, should get more pay than the chump that wants to stay home having only worked 25.
Well, also, the other cool thing is I think Democracy Dollars addresses some issues people would have with the current electoral system. For example, hold on a second.
And Citizens United.
Yeah, but not even around Citizens United. I want to say the other angle to it. That would be interesting, right?
Okay.
For example, in California, it's legitimate, a large amount of apathy in Republican voters.
Yes.
For the most part. It's like, it's California. Like,
nobody even cares anymore because they know it's useless to show up because we haven't had a statewide office since 1990 something.
Point being, Democracy Dollars in this example. Same thing with in deep red states. I guarantee you there's Democratic people who just don't really vote because they're like, dude, this place has been Republican for 80 years. I'm not going to change that. What I think's fascinating is you could use your democracy dollars, though. Yeah, your vote doesn't necessarily not count, but it's rough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That democracy dollars, though, is a great way of using your voice as an American voter to support national candidates. Because the way I understand it, I believe, technically speaking, let's say, because that's the weird thing the internet's done as well. It's made people running in swing districts like mini celebrities.
Yeah.
You could funnel money to candidates trying to flip purple seats one way or the other. You know what I mean?
How else would people for 90 days straight know the name of the mayor of Tallahassee, Florida?
Anywhere, yeah.
If he hadn't become that one district. Like, how would that one woman down in Broward County that's in charge of counting all of the
well, hold on.
You know,
Broward County is like a real life. What is the Twin Peaks town called? Broward County is like a real life version of that, where just crazy nonsense happens all the time. Nothing makes sense. Swear to God.
And the best part is that's where my father lives. And like all my cousins, they're all unincorporated Broward County people.
Well, you want to talk about another Andrew Yang policy? The decriminalize opioids right here. Broward County at one point, I believe, was the worst place in the country when it came to operating pill mills. Essentially, I remember back when Vice was really cool. They did a really cool Vice documentary where they tried going into these places
back before they sold out.
Yeah, like they literally got bought by like big corporations. But before that, they were going to these different pill mills. And at one point, they go to one of the places and they're trying to get in and they have cameras. And the people realize what's going on. And all of a sudden, like, you have to leave. They get escorted out. And as they're leaving, like, just a black SUV pulls out of the parking lot and follows them until it's like 30, 40 miles away and then turns around. Like, it used to be really shady and bad. There used to be a famous, like, airline started noticing that people were taking these really weird short distance round trip flight or short length round trip flights from like various parts of the Midwest to Broward and then right back to the Midwest. And anyway, so that off tangent about Broward County. But like I said, Broward County is like a real life Twilight Zone where just crazy stuff happens all the time. I have a friend who lives out there, and he said like, the nonsense he describes happening. And every now and then something crazy I'll text him. He's like, yeah, dude, it's Mother
Nature punishing them for having drained the Everglades in order to build houses. It's the ghost of all those alligators and sturgeon. Or the not sturgeon. That's the cold water.
It's Mother
fish
Nature
up in
getting revenge. I have no idea what it is, man.
It's the ghosts of the Seminole tribe, just like totally coming after him, man.
Sorry, we got off topic, but like I said, I think a really cool angle with democracy dollars is, as I understand them, it would give every voter, I don't want to say a bigger voice, but it lets them kind of put their money where their mouth is a little bit more to elections where, I mean, like I said, if you live in a county that's going to go 70% one way or the other, and you're not feeling voting that way, instead of just being like, well, I guess a good vote is meaningless, you can guaranteed have that money to funnel to a candidate, perhaps even a few districts over, a state over, a national candidate, president, whatever. I think that's a really cool wrinkle and fold, and I think that's a really cool. It says a lot, like I said, about the Yang Gang itself, when that is something that's on the top of their mind, saying, I want to find a way to give individuals more of a voice in our voting process. Yeah. I prefer something like democracy dollars, and I know he has ranked choice voting in here as well, which is kind of similar. Yeah. But I prefer democracy dollars as a way of getting around what weaknesses people perceive the Electoral College as having, than moving to just straight popular
and it's also
vote.
a way.
I think it's way better to have something where it's like, hey, look, fine, sure, yeah, if you're voting in a state that's going to vote one way, don't worry about it. But here, you can still guarantee to have money to funnel to candidates elsewhere, so your voice is heard. I like that.
Yeah. And I also like that it's, I'm not wholeheartedly embracing it right now because, like I said before, when we first analyzed democracy dollars, I'd want us to try it out for 2 or 3 election cycles with an automatic sunset clause so it goes away if something drastic happens, like our stupid jungle voting, how we changed how we vote in California to having the top 2 moving along to the general instead of the top 1 of every party that both Democrats and Republicans hate, but it's so ingrained now it's going to be hard to get rid of. So anyway, I do like, however, that, it was substantive, and it's a way of dealing with Citizens United, which I'm torn on. There's half of me that thinks, a man whose dying wish is to better his community should be able to funnel his wealth wherever he wants. You know what I'm saying? And you can't restrict his speech if he's willing to pay to get a bigger microphone. But on the same token, you can see how it's open for abuse, and you would never want something as precious as the American experiment literally put out of business by corrupt evil, greedy, banshee crony capitalists, right? So anyway, that's why I liked it, because it seems to be a way of addressing that problem without, having this political football of Citizens United getting overturned and then returned and becoming the new Roe versus Wade, right? So anyway,
hold on, a couple things I want to get to at the end.
Oh, okay, yeah.
One,
it's all yours, baby.
I wanted to fact check myself on one thing. I believe, coincidentally, you'd probably never guess, the Twin Peaks town, I believe, is called Twin Peaks. So there we go.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then I wanted to get into this. I kind of spoiled it. I apologize. I wanted to ask you before we wrapped, what do you think is one policy that's kind of underrated from Andrew Yang's? What you were talking about inspired me, reminded me of this. Andrew Yang has something he's going to propose, and he's going to have he wants to automatically sunset old laws.
Oh,
so here we go. Let's veto any bill that includes spending that doesn't include an automatic sunset period and a clearly defined set of goals with measurable performance indicators, which would apply, I'm assuming, to democracy dollars, where if that bill gets passed, it would have to be a point where it's like, if X isn't achieved, but then we get into the semantics, but we'll ignore semantics. If X isn't achieved by Y, sunset bill, right? Like that's... So that is, a lot of people say with UBI even, like, well, maybe we should do a rollout or something like that. Andrew Yang baked into his policy platforms, every bill he would conceivably sign would have to have some kind of sunset clause in it. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, the libertarians are going to love this, because I was talking with this awesome tax expert who was a libertarian guy whose hobby was going in and figuring out the entomology of these laws, like where they came from. And he was explaining to me how one of those 8 taxes that shows up on your cell phone bill, you also pay for 911 and you pay for, emergency phone access and stuff like that. He said, this is how corrupt our Congress is. He says, you see this tax right here? When you study when it was first passed, this is the permutation of 7 different changes of this tax law that was made originally as a fund to replace the glass insulators on the telegraph poles in the 1860s, because like Indian tribes or people trying to fake they were Indians would steal them to trade with the Indians, and they needed a fund, post Pony Express we're talking here, all right, in order to replace the glass insulators on telegraph lines. And since there was no sunset clause for it, the government just kept on just finding new ways to spend the money and never stopped taxing the people. And it became just part of the FCC, canon, so much so that now in 2019, 75 years later, we're still spending money that has been allotted to replace glass insulators on telegraph poles. You know what I'm saying? It's like these things just need to go, or else you literally incentivize Congress to find a way to spend money, to literally find a way to spend your money. And you get these these horrible never ending things, which is why Ronald Reagan said the closest thing to eternal life that we've ever found was what? An American governmental bureaucracy. So anyway, you have anything else you want to say, Cody?
Well, I want to ask you. So, what is what is Andrew Yang policy? Do you
My
think,
biggest one?
No, which one do you think is being slept on? And like I said,
nuclear energy.
Okay,
nuclear energy.
That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah, I've said that so many times.
That's
nuclear energy. He educates people on the fact that nuclear energy is not bad, which many on the left think, because they're just, got the dogma from the 60s and the anti-war left of the Vietnam era still in their heads. When in reality, it could be one of the most environmentally positive things. I mean, imagine the amount of coal plants that would just no longer be necessary. Imagine the amount of coal ash falling out of the sky, ruining the ecosystems around it, that would just stop overnight at nearly no cost other than 1/2 a degree of temperature change of the river that runs through it.
Look at this. He wants a plan to start breaking ground on new, safe, thorium-based molten salt nuclear reactors by 2027. So, what is that? Oh, God, I can't do any math.
That would be on the last year of the end of his presidency.
Yeah, there we go.
If he won re-election, yes.
Well, generally speaking, it happens, but
yes. So anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. What is your favorite non-UBI policy proposal? If there's any we've missed in the now 32 videos that we've done on policy proposals, then we'll definitely get to it. If you were at the rally, hopefully we ran into you. If you didn't come up and say hi at the next one, make sure you come and say hi. We love meeting our fans. Want to get a hack? Go to Problem Solver Politics. Make sure you hang out with us on Twitch on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you want to contribute to the channel, make sure you check out the PayPal link below. And also, hang out with us this afternoon, because we're going to be on Twitch at an earlier time today. What time is it, Cody?
Sorry, I got thrown off by the micro machines.
4 o'clock.
I believe 4 o'clock.
Yes, it's at 4 o'clock. Anyway, we hope to see you guys later. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you in the next video.